I don't think this will come as a surprise by other fans of Wadjet Eye that 2015's Technobabylon is one of my favorite Wadjet Eye games. Not only is it one of their highest rated titles, it seems to be the one that comes up most in conversation after Blackwell in my experience. The title started as an episodic freeware released by James Dearden under the name Technocrat Games, getting picked up by Wadjet Eye only a few short episodes in, and repurposed into a single title with all the planned episodes compiled together in one game and divided into chapters. It also went through a few rewrites, such as a pretty ridiculous scene revolving around a woman hung from a tree being changed to blackmail via embryos. It isn't the most thematically complex of Wadjet Eye's library, but it's both incredibly satisfying as a story, and the world building on display is miles above the majority of other cyberpunk games out there. Technobabylon takes place in the city of Newton, located somewhere in Africa, possibly around Kenya, during the year 2087. The story revolves around three different protagonists, shifting perspectives as it goes along, unifying all three characters in a variety of factions in a larger plot. The game starts with Latha Sesame, a user of a sort of mind-based internet called the Trance, escaping her apartment right as it explodes. We then meet Charlie Regis and Max Lau, two members of Newton's Cell Investigation Division, as they chase down a wanted mindjacker right as he's about to take his latest victim. The initial connective tissue is that the mindjacker is not only a fugitive the detectives are after, but also somehow involved in the explosion that nearly killed Latha. A grand plot unfolds from there, revealing character connections and grudges spanning through decades that will change the fate of Central, the city's Ultra Events main AI that keeps everything running. Along with all of this, Charlie and Latha both end up being far more important to this massive conflict than it initially appears. What makes Technobabylon so special is how little it's influenced by other popular cyberpunk works. Cyberpunk is almost always interested in corporations and capitalism and managing to survive in dehumanizing systems. These elements are all in Technobabylon, but they're made outlining forces to serve a different story about the march of progress and personal freedom. Lesser cyberpunk works just toss these thematic elements out or go in the exact opposite direction, defeating the entire purpose of the genre, but Technobabylon is instead interested in expanding upon those old story beats and ideas. It's not really focused on the punk elements, but the commentary remains and is grown further by asking questions about where we're headed and how we should handle that. The message made stronger by including all sorts of the familiar we'll probably not be rid of for a long time as the base for this new technology on display. Terrorism and war still exist in new forms, minority classes still walk about these new advanced cities, and our innovations manage to somehow become new failures in unexpected ways. My favorite example of this comes from a late game chapter where you enter a bathroom and find a mirror that isn't giving off any sort of reflection, just with the word error plastered over it.
Apparently this mirror is having a software error. Before I came to Newton, that sentence wouldn't have made any sense to me.
Technobabylon's main focus is on science and its impact on society at large, both positive and negative, wanting to leave us thinking about the ethical aspect of our constant march of progress. The big plot around Central and how the AI came to be is very effective in selling character drama, but the implications that arise from the possible ending choices and viewpoints of the different factions makes the game feel many times more thoughtful than anything we've seen from, let's say, the Deus Ex prequels. Instead of creating confused metaphors for classism or racism that don't really function as intended, Technobabylon just moves us a few decades forward and tries to accurately guess what type of world we'll be in, and sells this vision with confidence, much like the original Deus Ex. It asks us to consider how technology advances will impact us, and actually manages to explore the issue of artificial intelligence in a satisfying manner that's become more and more rare as science fiction has evolved. Even more impressive is that a lot of its technobabble is actually based on real sciences being explored and studied today, including organic engineering and genetic copy protection. There's even a good use of exposition, making it feel natural in conversation, allowing the player to interpret what's being said through context clues by using familiar language. It's a very tricky thing to pull off, but it's done well here.
I like the glowing fish in the tank you've got.
Thanks! I made those myself. They were my first gingineering project.
Lucifer and Luciferace? From fireflies?
Well spotted. I imported the sequence into red snappers and kept them viable. 10 generations now.
The aesthetics are also far more varied and don't take much from cinematic cyberpunk styles or cinematic language. Where Gemini Rue practically worshipped the likes of Blade Runner, Technobabylon doesn't have any instantly obvious parallels. There's also some neon signs and impressive structures, but there's also people dressed like characters from a 1950s sci-fi film, complete with gaudy, pure white clothing. Along with this, most places you visit feel like real-world places, but with an added doodad here and there, like a floating sculpture in a fancy hallway at an apartment building. This gives a personality of its own and also makes the trance segment stand out more. It makes sense to make the world feel so ordinary, so the cyber realm where anything is possible can truly feel like something special, and this idea is even weaved well into defining and exploring Latha's character. The creativity on display is absorbing at points, taking every crazy sci-fi idea out there and making it plausible and something to ponder, the highlight being the restaurant that sells cloned human meat. What makes the game great, though, is the excellent understanding of character. Dearden knows how to capture a character's unique voice, much like Gilbert, down to the lingo and speech patterns, and he manages to flesh out a ton of characters very quickly. Everyone is memorable in some way, which is truly impressive with a cast this large, but the strong arcs at the center with Charlie and Latha really creates the game's core soul. Newton feels like a living place, but it's all in service of interesting sci-fi and cyberpunk ideas, along with a great drama about bonds, potential, and self-worth. Technobabylon doesn't really develop its themes as strongly as Resonance or Primordia, nor does it create as involved a world as Gemini Rue or Starlight, but it does manage to engage with a strong cast better than possibly every other Wadjet Eye game outside the Best of the Blackwell series or possibly Starlight. Every time I replay this one, I'm surprised by just how much I remember fondly and just how much I didn't notice before. Van Chandler and James Deering work great together, with Deering coming up with rough 3D models that Chandler used to create more grounded environments in his own style. The game absolutely looks beautiful, the highlight of mine being a drug freakout scene during the third chapter. Ivan Ulanov's return is greatly appreciated, his character portraits remaining expressive and well detailed as always. It's also fitting to see Nathan Aled Pinard return from Gemini Rue, broadening his range and trading out his cinematic score for a long series of tracks that fit perfectly with their each given scene and moment. I wouldn't say a lot of these tracks are particularly memorable, but they all serve the game's atmosphere greatly, showing some signs of awe from his Gemini Rue score in moments here and there, especially in the ending. Eli Green, a relatively small-time actor for Wadjet Eye in the past, steals his show here as Dr. Regis, capturing his old and weary tone while perfectly getting down every moment of anger and joy he has. Newcomer Arlene Siegel does a great job as Max Slough, making up for a lack of some high emotional expression with a constant, jokey, sincere tone. While Max is the most underdeveloped of the main cast, Siegel brings her to life with the help of Julian's personality-filled script. I also appreciate Max as both canonically trans and heavily hinted to be gay or bisexual, making her a true rarity in the gaming landscape. Crystal Longquist is the weak link of the three, but she manages to give Latha a great deal of personality anyways, just with a bit too many moments of yelling that tends to distract. Other standouts include Jessica Pepper as the obnoxiously cheerful Chef AI, Ken Wynn Dapo as Dr. Chigwa, Frank Tordero as Dr. Vargas, and most impressively, Abe Goldfarb as Liam Stepforb, trading his usual tough guy voice for a cartoonishly foppish accent as one of the game's breakout characters.
We've got your company's name linked to the synthetic in the apartment.
Oh my, yes, a repurposed IL-240 platform running a BN110187 update cycle. A maid, yes, and a very expensive one it was too, yes?
That looks like the one.
Oh my, yes, he purchased a complete body, though it looks like he had some afterwork done on it elsewhere, oh yes.
There's honestly very few flaws I could pin down, just more possible room for improvement. The one major exception would be the inclusion of Rancho Man, a minor antagonist character presented for a chapter who feels like a racist Chinese stereotype, despite this not at all being the aim. His broken English and interest in cannibalism so he can literally eat the poor is so cartoonish, it actually deflates the very interesting moral decision at the heart of the chapter. I appreciate that Wadjet Eye did hire a Chinese-American actor for the role, the commentary track talking about their worries over his character and wanting to avoid racist casting, but there's some uncomfortable undercurrents in there that bug me anyways, especially due to Greater Han, a break-off Chinese nation of the game, being presented as a return to Mao-era dictatorship taken to absurd levels. They're the only nation treated like this, so it stands out in an otherwise diverse setting.
A shame. Would rather eat real human. Ultimate sign of control of people.
Eat the poor.
Exactly. That will teach them.
Technobabylon is an absolute classic, and I find myself liking it more with every passing year. It grows on you the more you start to understand just how well thought out its best ideas really are, or at least that was the case with me. I can attest it has some of the most well thought out, least punishing puzzle design I've seen in a point and click, so it never stalls too much and keeps the story moving at a brisk pace. It has a solid structure that it uses to build up so much, and while it's hard to pick out one element as truly better than the rest of its contemporaries in the Wadjet Eye library, it's hard to deny just how strong of a full package it really is. Keep making games, James Dearden. You have a talent for it, and I can't wait to see what you do next.
Here we go!